Thank you for watching, liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing right now. So if you haven't already heard by now, another Gnomedex is coming, kind of a Gnomedex light. We're doing a day of Gnomedex inside the Seattle Interactive Conference coming up here at the beginning of November, so that's, at least from, according to my invisible wristwatch, it's like right around the corner
like
here.
Day after tomorrow.
Pretty much. So what we thought we'd do is interview some of the people that we plan on having on stage, and we're kicking off this interview series with Christopher Burgess, who he and his wife have been Gnomedex attendees. And
Absolutely.
You've loved the conference.
I do. I viewed it as cutting edge. I went on record widely to indicate that I thought it was the best conference I'd ever attended, multiple times.
See?
And that endorsement was not paid for. And what I liked about it was the mix of technology with the mix of humanity. And as you recall, our first encounter was when I introduced the girl effect at Gnomedex.
Right.
And when I came up and said girl effect, everyone's reaction was the same. They said, "Oh, what's this?" And then when it played, it was like, "Wow, I wish I hadn't said what's this." And it was very powerful. And so when you invited me this year, I was saying, okay, what can I bring that's mine as opposed to others? And some of the things I thought I'd talk about, Chris, and we can, of course, meld this, is the unintended consequences of what happens online and off for both our youth as well as our adults. For example, sadly, at my website, the most often read, and it's like every single day, this one article gets read over 200 times. It's on the 34 children in 2010 that committed suicide because of bullying. And it just, it breaks my heart every time. And we're on track in 2011 to eclipse that, unfortunately.
Wow.
And, you know, it's just a sad stat. On the other hand, the next most popular topic to read is train wrecks, where, you know, people do dumb things online, like use password 123456 or...
Wait, are you saying that's a bad password?
No, that's probably the strongest password available.
Okay.
As long as you're not online.
Oh, okay.
So just clip that cord and you'll be safe. But you get where I'm going here, is that my online safety stuff is equally as important. So I thought what I'd do is put together a presentation on what it is that's heightening the bullying, if you will. And I think people are going to be surprised what the key element is in each and every instance, and touch perhaps the hearts of the audience on how they might be able to make a difference.
Right, and I think this is very important. I've done at least 2 or 3 videos on this in the past because, you know, there are people in our community who are very young and who have to deal with issues, whether they're dealing with them in real life or they're dealing with them online. And honestly, while I, you know, was definitely bullied when I was in school, I would say, well, but online is almost at a completely different level, like by a magnitude of at least 10. So
more than that, sir. More than that.
And at least
let me tell you why. When you and I were younger, and I was much younger, if I was bullied as a kid, I got to go home and take a break.
Right.
The kids today have it 24/7 coming at them. I was at the SMC Seattle meeting talking about the common sense of social networks, and I asked the question, how many of you look at your Twitter feed before you get out of bed? Right? And the hands were being raised everywhere, and I said, I rest my case. The teens are sending SMSs from underneath, you know, their parents have said go to bed, and I used to lay under my covers with a flashlight reading a book. They're there with their iPhone, you know, doing their Twitter and SMS. And so what happens is it's 24/7 interaction with the victim and the bully, but then you get this crowd mentality where anonymity allows you to just pile on. And I don't know many young adolescents that have all of the tools necessary to withstand all of this pressure that's always on and always coming.
Well,
and
but to your point, I mean, if kids have been committing suicide
yeah,
because of this pressure, I mean,
yeah.
that's how effectively then could we? I mean, okay, I think anonymity is important. I think it has its place. That's my opinion. But how can we effectively have these tools like Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and beyond, which everyone's using, regardless of their age? You know, if they can get online, they're using it. You know, how can they effectively withstand the pressure to further your point?
I'm glad you asked, because I maneuvered you into the segue. If I can jump up on my soapbox, I got 5 or 6 points.
All right.
And I've articulated them, and I'll send you the piece so you can share it. I encourage children to accept who they are and be all they can be within the capabilities given to them.
Yeah, I agree. Right? I agree.
And so that's the positive messaging behind it. I encourage that we direct our young, and notice I'm not saying parents, I'm not saying guardians, I'm saying all of us as a community, direct our young on appropriate use of the internet as a tool for collaboration, knowledge sharing, commerce, and not as a tool of hate. So if they see just, people talking smack, going at each other, it used to be if you were in the hallway as a kid, you cut down each other and people would call you on it in a minute. You go into the classroom, everyone laughing and be over. But now everyone replays the transcript because it's online. And so if you see it, you're obliged as an individual to step in and say, this doesn't carry water. This has got to stop. So the bystander is no longer allowed to stand by in anonymity, in my view. This is where the true courage comes up in society, is when people see it happening, they step in and say, this is just wrong. Make it your business to know and understand the many ways in which your child or dependent can get on the internet and communicate. The smartphone, the laptop, the Xbox, the Wii, your house, your neighbor's house, the library. There's so many folks who say, I'm going to take away your smartphone and you're off the net.
Right.
And they go, yeah, you bet, right? And then they walk away and they walk over to their neighbor's house and they're on, or they don't realize, the parents don't realize that smartphone has Wi-Fi too, and they're on. It goes on from there. And then you as the responsible adult have to monitor this activity. And by monitoring it, I'm not saying get in there and put all the tools on the computer, though you might want to do that. I'm saying engage with your dependent child there and engage with your neighbors so everyone understands that we're all in this together, that it's our responsibility to build good citizens. It's their responsibility to let us try. And that engagement, I think, is difficult, because it's often said that, wow, you're spying on your kids. And I always view it's not espionage to be a parent. It's responsible. And that if you need to know who your child is engaging, who are they being exposed to online, and via any other communication means. I had this one young man show up and say, I'm getting all these text messages from all these people that I don't know, and they all seem really friendly and everything, and my antenna went up off the charts. And so I opened it up, the text messages, took the phone numbers, and it took me 5 minutes to find out that 2 of the individuals were male prostitutes. One of the individual was somebody who had a record, and it was just a basic search. And so if parents aren't looking at the manner in which their children are getting online, talking to them about it, because you can't, as I said, you cannot stop them.
Right.
But what you can do is teach them how to make good decisions. And that's where the empowerment comes into play. And then my last 2 points is teach your child how to cope when overwhelmed, and how not to sit back and consume it, but speak up about it. You may not get a compassionate voice with an adult you think you will, but you will get a compassionate voice from your parents. And what I'm saying is that it depends on what the environment is. One of the things that I get just reams of email on when people read my pieces on bullying is, my daughter is being bullied in cheer at XYZ High School in Texas, for example. And when she complained, everyone said, well, you deserved it. And when she complained to the adult authorities, they said, well, that's all part of growing up. And, she goes, should I be, the parent asked, should I be going after laws to stop this, or what should I be doing? And I said, go engage the child's parents. Go engage them yourself. Don't stand by and wait for others to take care of what you need to take care of, because you only get one go-round with your kids. And if you're going to wait, then you may be that unlucky person that's waited too long. And every parent I've talked to who's lost their child, they all have said the same thing. I wish I hadn't waited. I wish I hadn't stood by and let the system work, when in reality, I could have taken some proactive actions that were not aggressive, but conciliatory perhaps. It's so, especially when we're dealing in 140 character transmissions, it is so easy to be misunderstood, let alone in an email.
Right.
Where you can write a book. Make sure your child understands, Chris, that mistakes are universal. We all make them. And if they have what they consider a life-changing mistake, such as transmitting of a picture that shouldn't have been taken, not that it's ever happened in Congress, let alone children, right? That it's not going to stop the sun from rising in the morning, and that we're all going to get over it, and you can work through this perceived error, and regardless of how many people say they saw it, and perhaps they all did, it isn't going to make a hill of beans if you don't let it. And if you don't have that conversation beforehand, then what happens is they don't tell you. They don't say, well, I did it because I wanted him to like me, or I did it because she asked me. But if they can get that conversation with their parents, and then lastly, show the children of our community how to report and confront bullying, call it out as wrong, show them how to do this in a non-confrontational but direct and unambiguous manner. And to be silent is to be a witness and an endorsement of the action. Silence doesn't work. But the key, Chris, is the bullying is universal, and it's around one topic: different. The victim of bullying is always the one perceived different. And they may be gay, but as many times as not, they play the violin, they wear striped socks, they are too pretty, they are too heavy, they are too thin, they talk different.
Too geeky, yeah.
They have pillows with their face on.
Right, crazy.
But you get the drift. And where I feel real strongly about this is legislation is not the rule. If we're litigating, we've already failed. The bullying's already occurred. So I'm a proponent. And if you see all the organizations that I'm an advisor to, it's the front end, teaching kids, teaching our young how to get along, how to collaborate, how to be constructive citizens. And by investing in that front end, we kind of obviate everything else.
So then how do you explain, YouTube has long been known to be a bastion of probably the dregs of society. Or seemingly so, because, it's
like your channel, and I think it's pretty cool.
Well, yeah, so...
But okay,
I may be one of them.
You say so.
Right. So, but people can hide behind these handles and feel that it's okay to attack. And I've found that sometimes confronting them, and in many cases calling them out on their, in many cases, lack of education, which usually comes about in forms of just horrific grammar. Which I don't mind if someone's being nice. I'm like, okay, they're trying, versus hating on somebody else and not even doing it well. So I was like, if you're going to do it, at least, make an effort to, do it. Not to say that it's...
They haven't been taught how to disagree without being disagreeable.
Yeah. Yeah, well, there's always these battles, one person's decision versus someone else's decision. And I
attribute it to the always-on environment. and it's a real boon to society, and it's got that unintended consequence. And so I thought I'd talk about that at Gnomedex. What do you think?
No, I think it's a great topic to cover. I mean, the idea that any of this, even this conversation, even this video, can turn around the life of one family, one child, anybody, and just...
That's how I measure success.
One at a time. I mean, that's...
And if you read the comments on my bullying pieces, I have kids come in and they say, "Thank you for writing this. I thought about suicide and I didn't." And I go, "That's a win."
The way I've spelled it out, like, I've been through this. I continue to go through this. It's not even an option. There are so many options out there. That is not one. Not one.
Exactly. It's not. And you can raise your hand and get help, and they can always reach me, and I will point them to help. There's lots of good organizations, and I'll give some shout outs if you don't mind.
Sure.
Stomp Out Bullying. It's a subgroup of Love Our Children USA. They've got a hotline now staffed by trained counselors. They've already saved hundreds of kids this year. And what's beautiful about their hotline, parents are calling now too. And they are not taking the approach of, go sue their pants off. It's, hey, get in there and engage like we would normally do if we didn't have the internet to slash at each other every 10 milliseconds. Video, as you know, we're going to trillions of upload minutes per hour, is just going to be the new frontier of this.
Yeah.
Because nobody's going to know when they're, anytime you're outside your home, the potential for you to be under the video camera is high. And anytime you're in your home talking with Chris and you have your video camera on, it's high. And my wife has a rule that the camera will face the wall, not the door.
Right. Good rule.
Good rule. But yeah, it's tough on our society, but I think it's an important topic that everyone needs to know exists. It's one we can't slip under the carpet because it's too important to our existence. Our adolescents today are our future tomorrow, and I'm going to need them in my dotage to make sure that I have a very nice retirement here in the Pacific Northwest, and I want a calm society around me as opposed to anarchy reigning high.
That would be good.
We don't need a WTO environment again.
No, I'm not. I'm completely with you. I'm a few years behind you, I think, but don't let the dark hair fool you. I'm definitely pushing 40. So, Christopher, thank you. And
it's my pleasure, sir.
We should be streaming Gnomedex live, and certainly would have the video of the presentation after it happens. Thank you, everybody, for liking this video. It's not okay to like bullying, but it is okay to like talking about it and potentially saving just one person's life. Certainly
Absolutely.
Appreciate the time.
Burgess T is my Twitter handle.
Okay.
Reach out to me anytime.
All right. We'll see you later.
Thanks.